Davies here, the Success Slow Coach, speaker, trainer and therapist, and owner and founder of the Mindful Impact Wellness Hub. Today I am joined by the lovely Oksana. Good morning, Oksana. How are you doing?
Good morning, Tania. It's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for inviting me to your beautiful podcast.
Thank you. And on such a cold day, I'm glad you've joined me. So Oksana is an international speaker, thought leader, and author on vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue in frontline workers. So Oksana, that's a massive job. And on behalf of everyone, thank you very much for the work you do. It must be a very big ask every day to get up and go to work. And you are a nurse still, is that correct?
That's right. Yes, I'm still practicing.
Yeah. To get up and go to work and to be able to feel the impact of people's traumas every single day and still continue to help them. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and in particular, your topic and your niche of expertise.
Thank you, Tanya, for a lovely introduction. Yes, so I'm a registered nurse. I've worked in emergency operating theatres and in frontline for now 27 years.
Wow.
So originally I trained in Ukraine, but I've traveled for most of my career time through 4 continents. I'm also registered in 4 continents to work, including Africa, UK, Australia, and Ukraine, of course. So that's something I took as a passion through travel and work.
I can tell.
So I've seen quite a lot of different, spaces, places, people, and it did bring to my attention that we all, although we're in different countries, but system is very similar, and we're all human.
Yeah.
And what happened was, probably after a good 25 years of working on the front line, I have started experiencing symptoms and signs of which wasn't really working for me. So my health was deteriorating. I always had trouble sleeping, like insomnia with a shift work, always running busy, not eating properly. My health starts suffering as well. Personal relationship wasn't working either. So it was a lot going on. And I was just putting it down to, I'm just tired, I'm just this, I'm just that, finding every single excuse. And until one day where I just collapsed at work.
Wow.
And it pinned me down to slow.
Yeah.
So basically it takes you to shut down. If you don't, it's kind of like a virus in your computer. If you don't address it all the time, you have the system in place, you'll be just attacking your files and eventually it will just shut you down. And that's what happened. So I was ignoring all these signs and alerts, and it shut me down. And when I was basically to the point where I did not enjoy work, I could not go to work, I didn't want to go to work.
Yeah.
And my health was suffering with that, and also going through divorce, financial problems, so everything. So that was really was life-changing for me. And I didn't know anything else about what else to do, because I've been a nurse for so long time. I've never done anything else. So it was worrying for me. And when I start just looking into and thinking what is going on with me, I came to a realization. By chance, I came to an article which was talking about vicarious trauma in frontline workers. And I remember I was reading the magazine and in Nursing Times, and I flicked through and I found this article and I thought, hang on a minute, there's signs and symptoms there. So I started ticking the boxes, and I ticked every single box. And this was like aha moment. I'm like, oh my God, I'm suffering from vicarious trauma, which is secondary stress trauma. So because we're in a profession, we're constantly caring for others who are suffering from trauma, from illnesses, and very, very, very compassionate people. Because coming into this profession, most of us, I can't say everyone, but most of us is going into this caring profession because we care and we want to help. It gives us satisfaction. It gives us, our compassion is just calling us. It's a calling.
You're very selfless. I've
Yeah,
known you for a little bit.
absolutely.
You're very selfless.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be in this profession. But of course, by going into it, when I read this article and it was telling you what can happen, and it's similar signs to PTSD, and I'm like, hang on a minute. Whoa, that's a bit too much, because PTSD is like a dirty
Yeah.
word for us, it's kind of,
Yeah.
no, I haven't got anything, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And eventually, when I start researching and I start looking into it and see how can I help myself, because I could not go any longer.
Yeah.
And I had to ask for help as well. So I've developed through helping myself, I've developed these strategies which I've realized what worked for me and worked for others. And I start telling my other colleagues as well, who not only were suffering from burnout is a word in this dictionary right now.
Yeah.
Not only suffering from compassion fatigue, which is constantly being exhausted by helping others,
Yes.
because you're taking their pain onto you, and vicarious trauma, whereas your traumatic events from your career, it could be one, could be many, they store within you, and they actually start changing your life in a negative way, in a mental, physical, emotional way. And
I
you
have to
don't
say,
realize. Yeah,
Oksana, there's a lot of people that will be listening to this right now, because I know there's a lot of coaches and therapists, etc., that do listen to this. And I personally work with paramedics and firefighters, etc., myself as well. And the one thing I had to learn quite early on in doing the kind of work that I do in the therapy and coaching space is to know what's mine and what's not mine, in terms of energy in particular.
correct.
And it certainly sounds, in terms of the compassion fatigue that you speak about very eloquently, that is actually quite a big concern for people in the space that you're in. So tell us a little bit more about compassion fatigue in particular.
Compassion fatigue is, it's literally taking someone else's suffering onto you.
Yeah.
And the fatigue would happen. So compassion is you taking that suffering from someone else to you, because you're so, you care about them a lot. And fatigue is when you take so much onto other people's sufferings that it become, exhausting.
Yeah.
Even you don't have to be in the front line to suffer from compassion fatigue.
Exactly.
For example, you could be a carer at home and you take care of children. You also take care of your parents who may be not well. You also take care of your grandparents. You also take care of friends who are calling you 24/7 for in crisis. Are you that person who is always on the end of the phone when friend calls you? So we all know that, those people, they're constantly helping others. But when it comes to, no one's actually teaching us that we need to assess and look after ourselves and decide where is that compassion stop. Not because we don't take it onto ourselves, it doesn't mean we don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to learn how to, there is certain techniques and certain strategies to help others with, you're still caring, but you also have to care about yourself.
Yeah. So that leads me to want to ask you then, what do you think are what is the key advice that you would give to somebody where you start to think, there might be a bit of compassion fatigue or even vicarious trauma coming in? What would be your key advice to them?
So I teach, so my teachable framework is reshape. So reshape your life, that's what I came with. And my first letter R is for recognize. Yep. So it's simply as you're a slow coach and all about slowing down, it's simply just having that moment of, stillness and, awareness. You literally have to sit down with yourself.
Yeah, you have to stop.
And stop and check what's actually going on with you. And the first one is to recognize. So you have to ask yourself questions, right? Am I the same person as I used to be? Am I enjoying this? My life going on? When the last time I felt joy?
Yes.
Am I happy? What makes me happy? Because, we all know what to say, what we don't like. But when we sit there, what do we actually what to do. So recognizing the symptoms, thinking, hang on a minute, I haven't slept for the last, couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not eating well. I don't have, I can't get up in the morning to go to work. I'm
Yes.
constantly irritable. I'm snapping at everyone. Whoever asks me questions, I'm snapping. I'm sarcastic. I'm
Yeah.
like, everything's doom and gloom.
And that's
It's like,
regardless of whether you're in lockdown or not.
correct. And that's regardless. So
Yeah.
everything doom and gloom as well. So all the symptoms, you think, hang on a minute, is this actually me? Even if it's you, like, well, you shouldn't be, because there's something going on there.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think the first step is just sitting in stillness
Yes.
and trying to find out.
Yeah.
Just asking yourself questions in all aspects of your life. Is my relationship fine? Or, I'm biting the head off my husband, with that lockdown.
Yes.
Let alone being in one house. So lots of things like this.
Yeah.
And of course, that's probably the first step.
Yep. So reflection.
Reflection, recognition, recognizing the symptoms and signs, and recognizing what is not working for you, what is going on.
Excuse me. So here's an interesting one. Over the many, many years that you've been working in the trauma space, what do you think is the best advice that you've ever received from somebody else about slowing down?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, Tania. So normally people just say, oh, just take some time off, just relax, you need a holiday. That's the usual go-to, isn't it? We say,
absolutely.
Oh, you need some time off.
Yep.
But I remember I've received the first time, and I actually acknowledged that, it was, who is looking after, are you looking after yourself? Who is looking after you?
Yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine said to me, if you collapse, which I did, who is looking after you?
Yes.
Who gonna, tell you to stop and do this and that? So be your best friend.
Yeah.
You have to become your best friend.
Absolutely.
In your best interest. And I think that's probably the best ever advice I've received is, you have to treat yourself like you would treat your best friend or a loved person, who you would do everything for them.
Yeah, I love that.
But you have to do it for yourself as well. So that's probably one of the first
and
ones.
That can be a big challenge, because
it is.
All of a sudden turning that magnifying glass back on yourself and going, something's not right here, as you've just said, and recognizing what's going on in your world. And, being the slow coach, I absolutely emphasize that first part, the stop and just be okay in your stillness, because that's where the process starts. So here's another one I'd like to know. What personal strategies, now that you've had that moment where you did collapse and you've come back tremendously. I mean, you're an international speaker, a thought leader, an author, and we'll get to that in a minute. But what are your personal strategies now in your world to make sure you don't go there again?
Number one for me is self-care, definitely.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, it's not just having a bath and a mask on my face with cucumbers on your eyes. Not just that. You know how we say, I'm having a bath.
Yes.
This is also part of it. But number one is I really have to look what I know now, recognizing my symptoms, what works, what doesn't work for me.
Yes.
Like, I know if I don't sleep well, that will affect me big time.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I get enough sleep. I'll make sure I exercise, because I find out that if I have no energy and I sit at home with no energy, it doesn't give me any more energy. I found that energy, actually exercise and just going for a walk or a run outside, a little jog or whatever, fresh air and being in nature, that really helped to calm myself down. And I've discovered meditation, which is, I've only been doing it for 2 years.
Yes.
But before that, I was like, oh, that's a woo-woo thing. You have to be a monk from Tibet and put your legs behind your ears and a lotus. That's for me was meditation.
I love how I work with so many business professionals that think exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, no. That's not for me. That's not for me. I don't do all this airy fairy thing.
I don't have time for that, right?
No, don't have time for that. I'm very practical. That's just the thing. Yeah. But I had to learn, I had to actually I thought, well, everyone is, talking about it. I need to try, because it's only, breathing, just calmly breathing and being mindful, and meditation, I have to say, changed my life, definitely.
Absolutely. And as a nurse, you would
And
know the benefit of even just nailing breathing
absolutely,
correctly.
absolutely. And breathing
Yeah.
correctly, because someone would tell me like, oh yeah, they're breathing. I'm like, yeah, don't teach me breathing.
Yeah.
I've been breathing for 46
Yeah.
years,
I was born doing this. I know how to breathe.
That's right,
Yeah.
because we're very much like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't give me advice like that.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's also just finding the way what helps. And because we're very quick to say no to things,
Yes.
which doesn't really sound good, but it's not going to harm you. So I think if you haven't tried it before, why don't you try? But people, what can do sometimes, they find a long meditation with something next level, and it'll be an hour meditation, like, oh my, I've done my shopping list in my head, I've done like what I need to do tomorrow, I can't relax. This
Yeah.
is the wrong thing to do. So start with a very, very short,
Yes. Like 5 minutes.
yeah, five
Yeah.
minutes max, and
Yeah.
you'll find that, oh my God, that was
Yeah.
the best 5 minutes ever in my day. So it's just slowly building it up. And I think you will get hooked on it, because you will love it, because your body will love all this. You will feel
Yeah.
so relaxed. It's like
Yeah.
almost sometimes it's like mini nap.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually do Brendan Burchard's. I do his like 2-minute reset in between major jobs that I do for the day.
oh,
So when
beautiful.
clients come and see me, there's that absolute
Yeah.
sit down, all right, let go, and then set my intent for the next thing I'm working
Oh,
on.
that's beautiful.
Because it's a bit of a clear out, but when you
Yeah.
don't have that, that 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes to do a full deep meditation, 2 minutes, it's enough.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
again, working on the front line, I find that
Yeah.
we don't really have time to reset in between.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
don't. And that's why it's so important to reset after work. And
Yes.
often I will, if I had a very stressful day, don't go straight home.
Yeah.
I will just go in somewhere in a nice picturesque place, somewhere in nature, and I just take like a little walk, or just sit there and just
Yeah.
keep a couple of time breathing, just grounding,
That's a great strategy.
it's on the beach or something, it
Yeah.
takes 5 minutes. You could be in 5 minutes, you can pop to the shop for 10-15 minutes, or you
Yeah,
can just go
absolutely.
in nature. Because if you're really wired up and
Yeah.
you come home, that's what I find that it's very difficult to relax, because
Yes.
once you come home, it's all your home tasks going, kids, dinners,
Yeah.
washing, you name it.
You
There's
start
never
the other
ending.
jobs, don't you?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And it's not just because we can't just like, whoa, I can't, just leave me
Yeah.
alone. It's kind of a little bit, it doesn't
Yeah.
work like that, because you
And
don't,
you
yeah,
said it really well before. It's like you said it's the layers, like it just keeps
that's
stacking up.
right.
And if you don't
Yeah.
do that release, like a pressure cooker, if you don't let off a little bit of that
Yeah.
steam, that's when, as you said, you collapsed. Well, for some people, they also socially withdraw, and they just
Yes.
they internalize everything. And then some people do explode, anger, frustration, etc. But some people end up with migraines, neck pain, headaches, heart issues.
Autoimmune
Comes
diseases. It's been
Yes,
research
yeah,
did prove that
yeah,
autoimmune diseases is a big thing about it. So when I've discovered that
yeah,
autoimmune disease is a part of all this stress, tension in
yes,
our bodies, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can see how it is true,
yes,
because I can I can name so many people I work with, and
yes.
how many problems we're all having. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So interestingly, working in such a fast-paced environment, I'd like to know from your perspective, if leaders of an organization were to actively and consciously learn to slow down, how do you think that could actually affect it, have a positive effect on the entire organization?
It's a beautiful question, Tanya, because I just wish this question been asked at work,
Yeah.
because it does. Leadership and a team of leaders do set up the pace at work as well. And it's again, if they would, I know there's pressure on everyone, but being more conscious leaders, and being slowing down the pace doesn't mean you do less work, but you
That's
do it
right.
more effectively. And you also make sure that people are, you look after your own staff, not only just after your patients, like, for example, in my situation, but
Yeah.
in any way, in any settings. It's not just about tasks. You don't want to feel a number. You want to
Yes.
feel a person. You
Yeah.
want to feel appreciated. you know, people leave jobs because they're not, you know, for different reasons, but most of the time because they're not happy in an environment. And when the leaders would have slowed down and they work together and on a system which could work for everything, it may mean, you know, putting different tasks into different places, not overloading, a lot of things. Are simply asking, having even well-being sessions with staff and asking them, you know, how are you doing? What is reflection here? What's the feedback? I mean, when the last time at work you've been asked for feedback, apart from questionnaire ticking boxes,
Yes.
and actually sit down and chat together? Because when you ask one-to-one, you feel a bit pressurized what to say between your leader and yourself. But if you're in a group, you feel supported. So when someone says, the other one will actually support you. And it's really, I think it's really important for the leaders to think about that, how important it is to treat your employees with the respect of how they're feeling about the jobs, how the tasks are going, what can be done. Because it's all very task orientated, but we want to be people orientated.
Absolutely. I mean, you've in a nutshell, thank you. When we start actually becoming, you know, I call it client centered, because that's what I do in my workplace. But you know, as a leader, as a boss in an organization, the second you start treating your people like you would treat your family, kindness, compassion, you're going to get a team that is so loyal to you that they will go out of their way to do the work that you want them to do. And they'll do it with a level of enthusiasm that you've probably never seen before. Yeah. But as you said, when we're task oriented and we're just ticking those boxes, we become a number. And we're both very familiar with just becoming a number in an organization. Yeah. So look, I just want to move on to a little bit, because I'm sure by now people are very curious to know, what was your book about?
Okay, so I co-authored in a book which called Undefeated.
And it's perfect.
Yes, Undefeated, that's right. And it's the story is a beautiful stories, collection of stories about the grit, gumption, and how you can go on with life. My chapter was on compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma, explaining how it affected me and how it can affect others as well. Just a little introduction into it, because it was only a chapter in the book. So it was kind of like a teaser. So my own book will be in production shortly.
Yay! Sneak preview, everyone.
That's right. As well, and we'll be more into the strategies and how to recognize.
So your reshape process.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. So look, just in summary, I'd love for people to know how to actually get in contact with you, because you are a keynote speaker. And I think your message needs to be out there very far and wide. So I will be putting your website down in the links in the comments, etc. But can you just tell us what is your website and how can we get in contact with you?
So my website is easy to find because it's my name, oksanasamkova.com. So that's my website.
Perfect.
Yeah, which is easy. And of course, you can contact me on Facebook, again, just my name, and on LinkedIn as well. Excellent. As my profile, the same name. So,
and of course, I will put all of those details there. And if anybody's interested in booking Oksana for a keynote speaking engagement, that is all on her website as well. I know, I checked it out. It's awesome. So thank you very much for your time today, Oksana. Your insights have been absolutely incredible. And once again, thank you for everything that you do, especially in the nursing realm and in the future, spreading your message.
Thank you, Tania. It's my pleasure talking to you, and you're amazing.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.